Conversations with Sekani, a podcast for people in their 20s who are trying to figure out life and not get lost along the way. Today's guest is Ken Stoddart, founder of Iron Mind Advisors and creator of the Iron Mind Mentality, a framework focused on mental resilience, clarity under pressure, and rebuilding through adversity. After decades as a cybersecurity executive and Ironman athlete, Ken's life took a dramatic turn through addiction recovery, personal transformation, and a stage 2B prostate cancer diagnosis that reshaped its mission entirely. Today, he helps people navigate grief, recovery, leadership, and identity through coaching, speaking, and advisory work rooted in lived experience. Ken, welcome to Conversations with Sekani. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and talking with your audience today.
All right. Wow. Thank you. So, yes, I want you to take us back to your early years, right? So, what was your childhood like growing up, and what kind of environment shaped you early on?
Well, that's a great question because it's probably, one of the most formidable times of my life. I grew up in a small town outside of Buffalo, New York. Uh, Many people might know Niagara Falls, so I grew up just a few miles from
Mm.
Niagara Falls, where Lake Erie uh, comes to a head and joins the Niagara River and then goes over Niagara Falls. I grew up right in that part. I grew up in a beautiful blue collar family town. I was very involved in athletics and very much a normal childhood with loving parents and great friends and family that did everything that they could to make sure that we were happy and healthy and supported. Um, Really very fortunate for the environment that I grew up in. That was many years ago, obviously now, but as I mentioned, it's there was so much to be learned from those days that, when you're going through them, you don't think you're in the learning process because you're just living your life. Now that I look back on everything that I learned, my father was a police officer, my mother was a business owner, an entrepreneur, both very, very, very hardworking people that, um, took a great deal of pride in what they did for a living and I learned a lot from their work ethic and their example. They led by example. They were never necessarily teaching. I was just always observing, and they taught me about those things at a young age. But that's really also where I was a young athlete. I was a hockey player. I was good. I wasn't great. I probably didn't have much of a long future, but for the most part, that was who I was. That was my identity. I was a hockey player because it's what I was, best at and what I was known for. Um,
Hmm.
then, after my junior year of college, I was actually expelled from college for
Hmm.
reckless decisions. And the reason I mention that is because, that was very much a major uh, turning point in my life that looking back on, I wish I would have handled it differently. When I was 16 years old, I was very embarrassed to be put in that position. I tried to rebel a little bit by going on this, mission to do amazing things. But, ultimately it was a very difficult moment that propelled me into a military college career. And then, when I graduated from college at 22 years old and went immediately into work in the dot-com field during the dot-com boom in the late 90s, early 2000s. And, I was wealthy immediately due to the timing of being working for a dot-com boom. I was a millionaire by the time I was 24 years old. And, that's really the start of, you know, 30 years of life lessons since then that have, you know, taken me up and down some different um, challenges in life. And that's why I joined conversations like this to try to pass on my knowledge and things that some younger generations might be able to learn from and benefit from and on their path of doing great things. So that was the long
Hmm.
version, but thank you for allowing me to have that moment and I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for also, sharing your story with us. And like you said, 30 years of life lessons, right? So we are here to learn those lessons that you have for us today. Now, I'm curious, right? At what point did you realize that achievement alone could not heal internal pain?
Well, if I understand, so there's many moments throughout my career where they were such critical turning points. Now, as I mentioned, during the process of going through these moments, we oftentimes don't realize the impact that they might have on us in the very near term, in the short term, but also in the long term. And what I struggled from is what I like to define as burnout. Now,
Mm,
everybody I think has heard that term before. I like to go a little bit deeper and say executive burnout or corporate burnout. And then, I really like to try to define that because a lot of people think that that's funny or like, that's not a real thing or, you know, get over it. And the reality of it is that's just not true. I was, like I said, I was in the cybersecurity industry for 27 years as a sales leader. I was very successful and I traveled the world and I had this job that many people dream about. And,
mm,
it looked great on the outside because I was financially sound. I looked healthy. I was an Ironman triathlete. I was trying to do all these great things and be this best version of myself. But at the same time, all these things that were not in line with my moral compass were really taking a toll. And this isn't something that happens overnight. It's something that happened over a period of
mm,
years. And when you're not truly being the best version of yourself on a day-to-day basis for years at a time, that's what I refer to as corporate burnout. When you truly lose your identity to the job, to corporate America, to the paycheck, to the golden handcuffs, when the job, the mission to make money or be successful becomes more important than you truly are. That's what I experienced. And that's what I talk about now because I've also recognized it. It almost killed me, quite frankly, and then I recovered from it. And now I focus on helping other people that are dealing with the same things. I went so far as to go back to school to get my master's in clinical mental health because I want to understand this process and how the cognitive functions of the brain are interrelated to all these experiences in our life that if we don't recognize them and treat them accordingly could have a significant impact on our long-term well-being. And I've seen it.
mm,
I've seen it happen to people very close to me that have even resulted in unfortunate, untimely death or sickness or just a loss of who they were. And I finally started wanting to do something about it a few years ago, and that's exactly what I do now.
mm. All right. Yes, thank you for telling us what you're doing now, because we're about to dive really deep into that. And starting with you going from cybersecurity executive and Ironman athlete to addiction and grief coach. Wow. Okay, I think that's a major, major transition, right? So what exactly happened? What inspired that transition?
Well, what inspired that transition was, a desire to get better myself
Mm,
personally. As you mentioned, I struggled with alcoholism during the final days of that burnout process, and I like to be very cautious of that because everybody struggles in different ways. I lost the ability to control my drinking. I did not like it, but I still was doing it, and that's kind of like the quick version but I had to ask for help, and I did that finally, probably later than I should have, but I did do that, and I ended up getting the help that I needed to get better, to get myself back on track, to get myself operating at the best version of myself. That took a lot of work to do. During that process of working through those things, I became very interested in the
mm,
question of why. this is happening to me. And I wasn't looking for excuses. I wasn't looking to point the finger at, whether it be alcohol or being overworked or this or that. I wasn't. I was looking at what was, I wanted to understand what was driving the behind the scenes version of that. And I just became very interested in mental health, not only for my
Mm,
own reasons, but with the desire to try to help others through the same thing. So the way to do that, was to continue my education and go back to school, which I've done. I go to Liberty University, and I'm in my final stages of my clinical mental health master's degree, and I'm super excited about it. But it was a burning desire to try to help others uh, understand some of the challenges that they're facing when they really
mm,
don't understand the challenges that they're facing. And I don't have all of the answers for that, but I do have some perspective that I like to share because, my
mm,
my model is unique. My model is based on, now I'm a therapist or a coach, like you said, and that's
yeah,
one of the things that I love to do because no matter what you call it, a therapist or a coach or a mentor, I love to help people. But in order to do that properly, my model is built on experience, like 27 years of real
mm,
world experience, a model that I don't think many people can replace, coupled with a military education, coupled with a 10-time Ironman finisher, which is, you know,
mm,
not the physical side of it, but the mental side of that is what is really the focus here. The ability to do those types of things and, you know, kind of put that all together in one methodology, which I've, now coined the Iron Minds mentality. But this is a very real thing. This is something that, when I started this journey, I was wondering if I had if I was onto something or if I was just, living in a dream world. But I do believe that the Iron Minds blueprint, this mentality that I developed, this operating system for your internal wellness and identity, is truly a method of healing that it's not surgery, it's not invasive, it's not medication. It's truly just looking at your identity and where you're supposed to be, what lane you're supposed to be in, or what elevator floor you're supposed to get off personally. Those are just things that we can do by understanding through conversation and allowing me to kind of digest what my assessment of the overall big picture is without pretending I know. It's hard to do that, but I love doing this and helping people. So it's just truly evolved into a dream come true where I get to work with people every day and I get to talk to people like you, Joy, and your audience and tell them about my experience. And I hope that it inspires them.
mm. Definitely, it's real. I believe it's real, actually. From the fact that it stems from, lived experience, that's what makes it even more realistic, right? So, yes, the iron minds, right? So, would you like to share your framework, or should I say operating system with us? What is the iron mind, and how can that be of use or
Yeah.
benefits to younger adults today?
Oh, it's such a benefit for younger adults today
Mm,
in a lot of different ways. But first and foremost, what it actually is when I was going through my struggles and kind of my own identity loss and wondering, when I was at my rock bottom trying to figure out what I could do to get back to my best version of myself, I had very important people in my life who were concerned about me and wanted me to be better and knew that I was not my best. And one of my very close friends said to me one day, Kenny, whatever you do during your Iron Mines or your Ironman triathlons,
mm,
apply that to getting yourself better, to your own recovery. And there's a little bit more to the story, but the point is like, so I had to think about that. What does it take for me to do some of these things that I do, like an Ironman or at the Citadel, I was a summer all guard. These are things that, I was not physically ever prepared for. And I had to go, into a place of, relentless uh, grit where no matter what physical limitations I had, or I'm going to finish this triathlon, or I'm going to finish this summer all guard experience, or I'm going to, I'm going to graduate with gold stars. I'm going to do these things that I did not think that I was capable of doing. And in order to do
Mhm.
that, I was going to have to tap into this place inside of us or inside of me that, we all have. We all have this place. It's called tenacity, it's called grit, it's called digging a little bit deeper. But, it doesn't have to be a triathlon. It could be anything in your life that. So my Iron Mind blueprint is built on optimism, it's built on dedication, discipline, hard work, the desire not to give up, and really just just a relentless attitude of no is not an option. I'm going to finish this mission. I'm going to surround myself with the right tools to put me in a successful position. I'm going to take the right action. And I help people through that journey because sometimes, and many times, even in my case, we don't know how to start the journey to get better. And like I said, I didn't either until I finally raised my hand and asked for help. The result of that was a tremendous outpouring of love and support from not only the people around me, but from complete strangers. And I ended up, fixing and getting myself better. And, that's the iron mind. That's the place inside of you that we didn't know existed that we have to tap into to get through some of our most difficult trials and tribulations. And it's a proven model because I'm the blueprint. I use it every single day, not only in my triathlon career, in my business career, but in my recovery career and in my new career in mental health, where no is not an option. I'm on a mission to help people and change this mindset that, it's okay to be burned out and lose your identity because it's your obligation as an employer or an employee, I should say. Um, and then, for younger uh, people that are, in that 20s, 30s range that are either entering the workforce for the first time or they're already into 3 or 4 years into their new career and wondering if this is the right thing for the long term, or should they, discuss a change or things that maybe they're not wanting to do because this is, especially here in the States where if you go to college, the expectation is that you're going to go out and go to get a job and go to work and make money and pay your loans and, the rest is history. But there's too many people that are getting into situations where they're getting a job, they're making the money, they're paying the student loans, but they're becoming a person that they didn't like, but because their parents told them that they have to get a job or they feel no matter what the job is, I need a job because I have to pay my bills. And I understand that. I was there as well, but there's also the ability to start the framework of thinking about what do I really want to do and how can I leverage, you know, my incredible college experience, my incredible, high school athletic career, or the fact that you were the captain of a team, or all these wonderful things that you've done already. How can we leverage that into the career that you truly want to be that aligns with who you are? And I help them do that. And I think that, when I talk to student athletes, we focus on, you know, identity beyond the jersey or the helmet, who you truly are when you're not on the playing field. I talk to young 20, 30-year-old folks that are ambitious about maintaining their emotional intelligence and building upon things. I didn't know what that word was when I was 20, emotional intelligence, and it's such a critical component to your overall success. And then, how to deal with adversity and resilience because I didn't really deal with adversity or resilience until I was an adult, and I was not properly prepared for it. I had a very lovely first 35 years where everything seemed to be going my way for whatever, that's my own definition. But, then I was faced with, some of the biggest adversities anybody could ever face. And, I did not handle them all the right way. And now I work with clients all the time on making sure that they do handle them the right way because adversity is critical with the way we handle it. It can really take us down uh, a bad path from a mental health perspective, which it did me, or we can use it as a springboard into, like my cancer diagnosis. I became instead of really, you know, drowning on that, I used it as a springboard into becoming a advocate and a spokesperson for men for early detection prostate cancer. And those are just examples, but I do want to prepare the younger generations of future leaders for challenges and situations that they have not even thought about yet. And that is a great preparation mechanism for future leaders that as they get prepared for, when they start families and have children and the kids are in school and all these things that like, and I'm not talking about the day-to-day financial stuff. I'm talking about what happens to you when you turn 50 and you forgot who you actually were as a human because of identity loss. And that's what happened to me. And that's what I'm trying to prevent in others.
Hmm. Wow. All right. I was thinking, right, because there are so many young adults out there they feel so much pressure to constantly appear strong, or even men. Let me be specific. Men sometimes, because where I'm from, right, Nigeria, men are not taught to show their emotions whatsoever. They are taught to, suppress those emotions. Like they say, men don't cry, men are not
Oh
supposed to
yeah.
complain, right? A whole lot of things, right? So they grow up suppressing most of their emotions, actually. So I was gonna ask, what do you think men need to do, right, in order to, become more aware of their emotions and to
Yeah.
keep things up? Because I feel like they struggle to ask for help until things completely fall apart, right? So, in your
Right.
experience, why do you think this even happens in the first place? And also, how can they grow out of it?
Well, that's a great question. And I have several wonderful Nigerian friends, and I certainly understand the cultural differences that exist there. And
Mm,
I understand them while at the same time, I grew up in a different culture, so it's different. But
mm,
the it's no different than the culture that I grew up in where, if you're the big, strong, athletic type or type A or you're a leader, asking for help or is almost it has been perceived as a sign of weakness as opposed to
mm,
perhaps a cultural, a Nigerian man and I'm not allowed to show weakness because I'm the support, the lifeline of the family from whatever. I don't even, but for me, it's the same thing here when, well, I'm the leader of a company and if I show signs of weakness, then the folks that I'm leading are going to think that I'm weak or incapable. And I'm here to change that narrative, not only here in the United States, but respectfully in Nigeria as well, where I know I'm not going to have much of a difference. But the point is that even me, like I had to ask for help, and it was one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do because I thought I knew it all. I thought I was, here I am. I'm very successful. I'm healthy, strong, but that was on the outside. On the inside, my internal operating system, my conscience, my morals, my identity, we're not living up to who I want to be. So the true sign of strength is addressing that and getting it fixed as opposed to being weary of asking for help. There's asking for help, like there's a there's a shift going on in the United States now where, because of all of the mental health crisis, and I'm sure it's no different where you are, but I'm just from my experience, there's a shift. Like we're encouraging people to speak up, to ask a friend, to say I'm not
mm,
doing okay, and I love that because I started my whole journey just by being that friend, right? Just call me.
mm,
Just I'm here to talk to you. Some people don't have anybody to talk to. Well, they have me. I like to talk to people that are going through something. I can't do it all day or what. But the point is asking for help is a true sign of strength, and I do encourage people to do it, and whatever it is. So even if it's asking someone to like go for a walk or let's talk or do you have a minute? Can I run something by you? Because that is how true leaders uh, get through those bumps and apply that, and that's a sign of like. And I've done it to myself, and the reaction from people that I meet and talk to are see me as an absolutely true sign of strength. And I can tell you that I asked for help in multiple different facets and times of my life. And that is the reason I'm back to being this amazing version of myself, is because I've put a lot of work into it. I've talked, I've done therapy, I've done pretty much everything, and I've become outspoken about it. So I'm get on podcasts like this and fully dispute the fact that asking for help is a sign of weakness. And I will have that discussion with anybody at any time, and I'm proud of it. I think it's the best sign of strength, the true sign of a new leader, one that identifies identity and where it's struggling and how to fix it. And I'm going to be continuing my mission to help people speak up in areas where they need guidance or help.
Exactly. Like I would repeat it, right? Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. I think
No,
people out there need to know this, right? If you ask for help, both financially, mentally, physically, it is not a sign of weakness. I mean, everyone needs help, right? As human being, we
of
need one
course,
another. We need each
of
other
course.
to, help each other, just be with each other and provide help in any way we can. So when you ask for it, it is not a sign of weakness. So yes, I want us to talk about, your future, right? The purpose and legacy, basically. So as you look ahead now, what kind of impact do you want your work to leave behind?
My impact since that I want to leave behind has always remained the same. I want to spread a message about uh, adversity and how we can rebuild from our darkest moments. In my situation, as I mentioned, I struggled from, at the end, I had hit my rock bottom, and the
Mm,
cause of it, we can go in many different directions. We could call it alcoholism, we could call it stress, depression. I call it burnout, and burnout incorporates a
mm,
lot of those things and
mm,
very difficult to overcome if you don't recognize those. So my message is going to continue to be that, asking for help or assistance or guidance is a true sign of strength. So that's one component. I love speaking and I do keynotes and about this topic in particular. I love working with clients. My Ironman advisors business focuses on ambitious people that want to get better. That's where I love to spend my time. It's not for people that are happy with their status quo or just fine going through the motions that they're doing. This program's designed for people that are high achievers that want to do even more amazing things, or high achievers that are trying to get themselves back to where they once were because the system has, taken its toll on them. That's my mission there. And then lastly, overall, it's helping people understand what I think is one of the most critical components of success, and it's their true identity. And so I have an assessment that I'll tell people about at the end, where you can visit my website and take your own identity assessment and find out for yourself. But it's really, and there's people that are so reluctant to do that because they're afraid to assess themselves or whatever. But this one's not, it doesn't get personal. It tries to dive into the iron mind version of identity where, I don't care about, you know, if you had a bad diet day or you missed your workout. I'm sorry that those happen, but this is a bigger picture of who you truly are and who you truly want to be. And you get a result from it. So that's a fun toy. But um, my mission is to help people. And, when I say that, I know it's very broad, but I've had all of these things that have impacted my life, and then I faced cancer at 50 years old and had to
mm,
deal with that. But now I help others deal with that, and I enjoy that very much because again, it's cancer is always perceived, it's a terrible thing to go through. And I had to take that phone call and that diagnosis and um, all the things that come with it. But I decided to handle it with grace and gratitude like I do everything. And it has, just been another uh, story in my life that's allowed me to build upon my resume of things that I've been through that are able to help others.
Mm. All right. Wow. Thank you so much, Kenny. And I believe this conversation is gonna actually change lives and it will get to the people that really needs it the most. Right. And finally, I was gonna ask if you could talk to, any out there, specifically younger adults who probably feels lost, overwhelmed, or just basically navigating life without clarity. What advice would you have for them about, the mental health and life generally?
Yeah, in general, my advice would be to, you know, to recognize those thoughts. If things are not going as you planned, or your job is not working out, it's very important not to get stuck at a young age. And
Mm,
when you're in your 20s and 30s, believe me, you're still at a young age. And I say that because, as I mentioned, I had the same feeling of being stuck in a career that, in cybersecurity, that paid me millions of dollars and allowed me to travel the world and do all these amazing things, which I'm so grateful for. However, it wasn't right for me. And I didn't realize that till I was 49 years old.
mm,
And then I went back to school to become a therapist and a counselor. And I realized that that is where I want to be. And I thought I was too old, or it's too late in the game to do that. And well, here I am 2 years later. I'm getting ready to graduate. I'm going to be a licensed therapist. I'm going to add that component to my coaching business. And I am truly a new version of myself that I never thought was possible. And I'm so grateful to the Lord for that and all the other things that I've done to get to that point. And I just want people to know that change, it can be scary, it can be daunting, but there is a formula for doing it properly. And, I want to talk to
mm,
people about that. And the easiest way to do that is for people to follow me on Instagram at IronMindsKenny. And that's just the tip of the iceberg from, I also have a website at ironmindadvisors.com. I also have that identity gain assessment that I talked about, where if you go to www.ironmindadvisors.com and click on the Identity Gain OS, you'll be able to take this assessment for yourself and see where you stack up. So my website, my Instagram, my LinkedIn, which is LinkedIn/Ken Stoddart. This is where I talk to people in through videos and short clips about things that I've learned along the way. And then people can reach out to me and we can talk further. I'm here to help. And like I said, I mean, I know that you're in Nigeria. I have had so many friends from Nigeria over the years in college and then here in the States that I've worked with. And what a lovely group of people. Obviously, I cannot fully relate to the lifestyle, but I know that the folks that I meet from Nigeria are so um, proud of where they're from and their heritage and their culture, and they always appear to be the loveliest, happiest people, and I love that for them. But the message there is that maybe they're not that on the inside, and that's not okay. I would love them. I would love people to be what they are on the outside, the same on the inside. And geez, the Nigerian personalities are just
mm.
so electrifying on the outside. It's such a beautiful thing. The way they love the loud laughs and the beautiful smiles and their happiness and their gratitude is just a beautiful thing.
All right. Okay, Kenny. I now I
You
know
know
you
what I'm
really
saying? You know what I'm
understand.
talking about? Those big smiles and the loud laughs. I love those.
Oh my goodness. Okay, you're right. You're right, actually, Kenny. Now I know
Thank
you
you so
really
much.
understand Nigerians, actually. Thank you, Kenny. I would
All
say
right.
this has been amazing, honestly, and
I hope
personally.
we can do it again because there's a lot more, but let's see if your crowd likes this. And then maybe the next time we can talk a little bit more about some of the tricks that I learned along the way that are
Mm,
they're not necessarily tricks. They're actually good things to do that'll keep you
mm.
thriving at a for a long time. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. All right, you're welcome. Definitely, I would love for you to, come on again and probably we could do a in-depth analysis into these topics. And yes, it brings me to the final segment of my podcast. I call it the rapid fire segment. So you
Yeah.
could either answer with a word or a phrase starting now. What is one lesson your 20s taught you the hard way?
Take care of yourself physically,
Mm,
emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Take care of yourself. That doesn't mean, in the United States, people go to the gym every day. That's the physical side. That's great. Are they listening to their mental compass? Take care of yourself. Prepare yourself for when you're 50 and you want to be the best version of yourself still. Think of those things when you're making your decisions in your 20s and 30s, uh, whether it's your diet or your exercise, but more importantly, your mental health. They're all very important. They all play a role. So take care of yourself in general, and you will be so much more advanced when you're 50 than the
mm.
people that you're competing against now in your 20s,
Exactly. Wow. Like you said, take care of yourself. Your future self will thank you for that, actually. So
without a
yes,
doubt.
right. So what is a quote or mindset you live by?
I live by a mindset that supports that same Iron Mind blueprint that no is not an option. That
Mm,
if I set a goal, I don't just say it because saying it is not how we go about achieving them. It's putting a plan in place, being disciplined and dedicated to that plan, and following through on what you've set out to do. So my mentality is whatever you want to accomplish, we can put a plan in place to do it. We should not have any limitations. And if you feel limited by where you're at, that's a great place to start in understanding why. And so the world is your oyster. I'm a living proof of it, and I'm so grateful. Thank you so much.
right. All right. Okay. And finally, what is one thing you're deeply grateful for right now?
I'm deeply grateful for my recovery. And I know that that is another broad term, but I didn't know that I could get back to this version of myself, quite frankly. So I'm so grateful that and there are so many pieces to that, not starting with my Lord and Savior, but my family, my friends, my loved ones, and then my own willingness to put in the hard work to get back to where I am. And so I'm very grateful to be recovered. And within that, there are a lot of components, but that is the highest picture I can paint is that I'm so grateful to be back to the version of myself that I've always wanted to be.
Mm. All right. Well, thank you, Kenny. This has been amazing. And
Yeah.
finally, before you go, where can listeners get to, learn more about you, connect with you, and also, learn more about your framework also?
Well, I would love to have more followers at Iron Minds Kenny because that's on Instagram
Mm.
at Iron Minds Kenny because that has been the place where I can put up quick stuff, quick tips, quick videos, shorts, quotes. So I love adding new followers to that. That's kind of my it started at zero a few months ago and it's got several thousand now, but it's truly organic people that want to learn about this stuff. So at Iron Minds Kenny, and then within that, my website, Iron Mind Advisors, and that has the Identity Gain OS assessment. So I'm hoping that we can get some more assessments and more followers, and then we'll talk next time and about some other great tips.
All right, Iron Mind Kenny. I'm going to put the links in the show notes so it's easily accessible for listeners. And right, to my listeners, I'll say thanks for tuning in to Conversations with Sekani. If this episode sparked something in you, just as it did in me, make sure to share to someone who you think might need this and also subscribe so you don't miss out on new and amazing episodes. Once again, thank you, Kenny. And yes, personally, I'll be giving you a follow on Instagram, right?
All
Iron
right.
Mind
Thank you,
Kenny.
Sekani. I
Yes,
see some,
definitely.
yeah, followers coming in now, and I'm really grateful for that because I don't do it for
Oh,
followers. I do it for expanding my message to people that I can reach,
right.
and I'm grateful for it. So thank you, Sekani. Have a
Exactly.
great day.
All right. Take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.